This is a book review on a book I recently rented from the library called From the Motherland to the Mothership. And it is written by a contactee named Shurlene Wallace out of Texas. The book came out in the late 1990s, around 1997 or 98. And I want to comment on it because I've never seen a review done on the book, like a video or audio review of the book done anywhere on the internet. I have seen written reviews, but I do want to touch on a few things for my review. Shurlene is a very rare specimen in the world of ufology, where black contactees are so few and far between, and they very seldomly speak. I'm always on the internet looking to find some stories on experiences that black people have had with extraterrestrials, UFOs, etc., etc. But one thing I will say about her book is very interesting and it's very enlightening, because she said a couple of things in the book that other contactees of different nationalities don't speak on or don't touch on at all. And I'm going to get into that right now. Shurlene said in the book that most of the aliens or extraterrestrials that she encountered were black extraterrestrials. She didn't go into their physical description, but she did say that they strongly resembled black Earth humans. She said that she saw one extraterrestrial that bare a strong resemblance to an Iranian man, and that he held a high rank or position on some planet she was transported to. She said that he was wearing like a glowing yellow and orange-like garment. She couldn't describe the rest of it. She just said it was like maybe like a robe, some sort of robe attire, but it had these beautiful yellow and orange colors that glowed on his uniform. She speaks on. She said that there were stone people that she's seen also. She said there were like giant stone people that resembled those giant heads and stone bodies that are on Easter Island. Bear a very strong resemblance to them, but they were giants. I mean, I guess, you know, she didn't go into detail with how big they were, but I guess human beings would probably be the size of mice compared to how big they were. And she's seen them, and she said these were like living stone people. She talked about, she said that some of the extraterrestrials were white, resembled white people, but most of them were black. And then she talked about the guy that looked like an Iranian person, an Iranian man. She said she saw 3 grays in her bedroom one night, and that they put I think she said it was not a microchip, darn it, put an implant in her elbow, and she had it verified by a doctor. I'm not sure if she ever had it removed or what. I can't remember that part of the book, but she did have it put in there, and she said that was the first and only time she saw the grays come to her house. She told a story about how she was taken, and she talks about the process of being taken, which is interesting, because what she says is that in the beginning they would come for her in UFO type crafts. I guess they were your typical flying saucer looking crafts, and they would teleport her. What they would do is they would use some sort of sophisticated technology to where they could disassemble her molecules and her atoms, and then transport the light body, which is her eternal soul, and they could reassemble it, similar to how they did on Star Trek, but much more sophisticated from the way she was describing it. She says she doesn't know how the process is done, but you know, that technology is like way the hell out of our league. League. She said that at first they were taking her in a spaceship, but then ultimately what ended up happening is that you know, she said that the government either had or was given technology to where they like tracking technology where they could track their ships. And I guess they didn't want any problems. I guess they didn't want to have to get physical with our government and start blowing stuff up or something. But she said, you know, once things started getting complicated in that area, they just, you know, took the scenic route and just disassembled her body and allowed her soul body to travel to them. And she said that our government can't do anything to the soul body. So I kind of liked the sound of that. She talked about there were elemental beings in her bedroom, and she said the elemental beings tried to paralyze her. Well, they paralyzed her, and they were really, really pissed off at her about something, and she couldn't understand their language. And she said one of them, they didn't physically do this, but they pissed in her toilet and left, or did a simulation of pissing in her toilet and then leaving, just to let her know that they were really pissed off at her about something. They had ransacked her house, you know, but they didn't harm her other than paralyzing her. I don't know if they could. So I think that was the only time she dealt with them. She talked about being taken one day, and she went to a planet where, or she went to some space station, a very large space station that resembled a city in space. And she was in light body form, and she said that she seen a clone of her body that was made. And I thought that was interesting. She said it was in some sort of a stasis pod. That's something we would know. Yeah, that's what it kind of looked like, but she said the thing looked like it was just super airtight, like nothing could get into it, you know, and that it could only be opened from the outside. She talked about how she couldn't get pregnant. And I thought this was an interesting story because she said she couldn't get pregnant anymore. She had her tubes tied, and she said that a race of black extraterrestrials took her to a planet, and you know, she was in a room with them. There was a few of them, and she mentioned that she couldn't get pregnant, and they all kind of looked at her. They all stopped what they were doing and asked her. One of the women asked her, "Why can't you get pregnant?" You know, and you know, she kind of said, you know, had the impression in her head, like, you know, oh shit, did I say the wrong thing? You know, but they all seemed really concerned about that. So, you know, I guess she went into how she had her tubes tied, but what she didn't know is that they untied her tubes and they fixed it to where she can have kids, because she ended up getting pregnant later on and she had a dream about it. And, but they didn't tell her directly, flat out, well, you know, you're going to be, we're going to impregnate you and have a kid. It's kind of like they did it, you know, without her consent. And she wanted to see her child. And one day, it was a black woman and a black man. They came to her room and they brought the child. And she said this child clearly looks like a cross between an earth human and whatever human species that the black extraterrestrials was. And she asked them, can she touch her? And I guess they nodded her head like, yeah. And when she did, she said her skin was extremely cold, like colder than our skin. But after she done that, you know, all three of them disappeared. And I don't think she saw them no more. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But they did let her see her mixed child. one time she was taken, and she recognized the black doctor. She said she don't know what the connection was, but she recognized him, and she also recognized some of the black nurses. And but they wouldn't tell her what the recognition was from, and that just really bugged her for the longest. But she said she had the impression that the black doctor was her husband in another lifetime, maybe with them. That was the strongest impression she got. And he told her that what they were doing was they were re-engineering humanity's genetic structure. And she wasn't the only one that they had taken, but they had a special interest in her, and she was never told what that was about. So I thought that was really interesting as well. She was told she met a being that came to her room one day. This is another one that was interesting that was in her book. She said the entity's name, if I'm pronouncing this right, is Johnny X, spelled Jauneaux. Johnny-X. Never heard of that name, never saw that spelling, but that's what his name was. And he was a black extraterrestrial that had the ability to transform his body or convert his body into some sort of energetic cloud smoke-like substance, and travel anywhere. And she said she can't remember the whole conversation, but that she just was really shocked that he had the ability to do that. She talked about how they did they did a medical examination on her, and she was taking medication for some problems that she was having. They told her don't take the medication anymore because they're going to repair some things in her body. And in the end, she found out she had an ovarian cyst, and if it had remained in there, ultimately it would have ruined her health and probably killed her. But they actually got rid of the cyst and healed her entire body. So I thought that was really cool. You hear stories about the Greys. I never forget, there was a Mexican guy. I can't remember his name. His name might have been Ricky something. And he was a contactee, and he told a story about how his son had a serious brain issue. I can't think of what it was. It might have been a tumor or something. And the Greys wouldn't do shit to help his son. I thought that was really fucked up. But they were abducting him, and I think they may have abducted the son, but I'm not entirely sure. But I could have sworn the guy was either Mexican or it was a white guy that sounds Mexican. And, that was a totally fucked up story. He was really upset about that. But in Shurlene Wallace's case, she got really lucky that these extraterrestrials that had abducted her cared enough about her to tell her that she had, they were healing her body to stop taking the medication. They got rid of that cyst for her. That was really cool. I liked that. I think that was one of the highlighted best stories that she told in the book. She also said that she mentioned numerous times that the black race is supposed to be from Mars. That they were from they were a phase. She said a phase of Mars. She could not understand what they were trying to explain to her, but they were supposed to be from a phase of Mars or something. And when she said that, the first thing that came to my mind was an interview that the bitch Carrie Cassidy did. Sorry, but I'm not a fan of hers. Carrie Cassidy did a video interview talking about a man named Captain Mark Richards, who's in a Vacaville. He's in a Vacaville prison in California, city of Vacaville. But anyway, she told a story about how she had interviewed him, and he had mentioned an alien called Val Valerian, and he is he was supposed to be some alien that was I guess he was at the Pentagon or something, had something to do with the Pentagon. So Captain Mark Richards said something along the lines of how Val Valerian is supposed to be from Venus, but he's not from the physical Venus we see. He said that he said that the planet Venus has life on it in 64 different dimensions, but not on the dimension that we physically see, which is interesting. And the first thing that came on my mind when Shurlene Wallace said they were from a phase of Mars, that that they might actually be from another dimension, or a different frequency. I don't think the woman is lying. I personally believe they probably either they're from the physical Mars we see, or they're from a different frequency of Mars that we can't see. So I do believe that she's telling the truth 100% about the black race being predominantly, that Mars being predominantly black. Also she has no one to dispute her. We know a lot of these other non-black contactees don't even want to talk about black extraterrestrials, Carrie Cassidy, in their interviews. So, I believe her on that. But she also told a story about how one of the black extraterrestrial races could walk through walls, and when she had a medical exam done, she tried to walk through the wall with one of the doctors, and she bumped her head after she crashed into the wall and fell down. She said they were trying not to laugh at her. I thought that was kind of funny. I thought it was kind of mean also that they didn't tell her that she couldn't do it. And they would never explain to her why it was that they could walk through the walls, but she couldn't. I thought that was really mean, because they could have just told her that, you can't do that, instead of just letting her be surprised and, thrown off balance like that. I thought that wasn't all that cool. She talks about, she gave props out to Credo Mutua and Richard Hoagland. She said that in the book that Credo Mutua said in an interview he done that the ufology and the UFO community does not speak to the black community, and that is so 100% true. I really compliment and respect UFO contactee from Australia, Mikhail Desmarquette, who wrote the book The Theouba Prophecy, because when he spoke about the Baccaratinian aliens, who are supposed to be the ancient galactic ancestors of the black and the Chinese, he really went into detail about what part of space they were from, what planet they were from, how they went to Maldek, Mars, then Earth, how they both founded Mu, which is Lemuria, also called Lamar. Their involvement with Atlantis. He told a great deal of story that people like Simon Parks, Alex Collier, Carrie fucking Cassidy don't even talk about with their contactees. I meant to say Carrie Cassidy doesn't speak with her contactees about. And, Simon Parks and Alex Collier don't seem to be too interested in even talking about the Baccaratinians either. But we always hear about Mu, we always hear about the Atlanteans, but Desmarquette, my hat goes off to him because he actually was told by the alien that contacted him that the black race and a Chinese race was here first. So I'm probably going to believe him a lot more just because other contactees are not interested in speaking on, black extraterrestrials, which I think is complete bullshit. And it goes back to the whole thing of how blacks in America, I can't speak for blacks worldwide, but blacks in America's history has been totally obliterated. I think it is absolute disrespectful and a spit in the face, and it's kind of racist that contactees know this information and they're fucking hiding it. You know, so that really just rubs me the wrong way. And I give Shurlene Wallace props for mentioning this in her book about what Credo Mutua said. Now, what she said about Richard Hoagland is that she said that Hoagland made a comment in a video presentation he did back in the late 90s about the eerie comparison between the pyramid structures on Mars, the face on Mars, and the similarities between Mars and Egypt. You know, and she found out that, you know, the connection between Egypt and Mars is the black race from Mars building, you know, having to do with building Egypt like thousands of years ago. She said that was a black race that did that. It's funny, Simon Park said it was a race from Sirius, and Alex Collier also said that in an interview. He said it was the Lyrans and Syrians, but he never said what they, he conveniently did not say what they looked like, you know, and Simon kind of did that also when he talked about a race of aliens called the Cat Curry. He gave you a 99.9% description of what the Cat Curry ETs look like, except for their skin tone. And I noticed this with every video he does. Anytime those ETs are not white or they're not alien looking, like lizards, snakes, frogs, you know, scorpions, whatever, you know, we don't get the skin tone of the ETs that are non-white. You know, just an observation I noticed, and I think that's a bit awkward that he would do that. But I'm not going to speculate or call any names or do that. I just think that's very odd, and I don't think it's right. But I love what she said about that. Another incident that happened was she said that she was transported to a planet one night in light body form, and the name of the planet is Hanahua or Henka. And she saw that this planet had, you know, very complex industrial structures. And she said it was another black planet, and it was, she said it was, I don't know if it was 200,000 light years from Earth. I don't know where it was supposed to be. She said she could not remember what the man told told her. But the man in this building, he looked like black people, but she didn't go into further details other than that he was a black humanoid. And he dressed her as either Answa or Anshaw. And she was like, "Excuse me," she said, "that was your name. You're from this planet." You know, and she said she kind of vaguely remembered the guy, but couldn't understand. But he told her she lived in another lifetime on this planet as a woman named Answa or Anshaw. And that's all she was told. And when she had left, I guess she never went back there again. You gotta remember, ladies and gentlemen, this book came out in the late 90s, but, you know, one tidbit I thought was kind of cool was she gave props to a black girl that I think lived somewhere on the East Coast named Valerie Ambrose, who named the Mars Pathfinder Sojourner. Speaking of Sojourner, she made references to Sojourner Truth a lot in the books. She says she does not know what the connection is. She don't know if she knew the woman in another lifetime, if they were friends, if that was her. But she said she had a very, very strong connection to Sojourner Truth. And she felt that it may have had something to do with a previous lifetime. But that's all she knows. She wasn't told nothing further than that. She was told that the FBI and the CIA would never bother her. I mean, and that was made adamantly clear to her. Another thing she said that I thought was kind of interesting, because a lot of contactees don't really bring this up a lot, and she did. But a lot of she talked about how she went to a planet. This was another planet that had a lot of black people on it, and this black race had a very, very complex, very intriguing, very complex, like monorail system. And she said that there were people on this train-like system. She said it was very sophisticated. It was nothing we have on Earth is compared to what they have. But she said she saw a dog, a big-headed dog, and a dog looked like Snoopy from Charlie Brown the Peanuts cartoon. She was scared it was going to jump on her, but it ran and jumped on somebody else, I guess, that knew the dog or owned the dog or whatever. But she said, we do not have a dog on Earth that resembles that. And she thought that was really interesting. And I'm glad she brought that up because we never hear stories ever. I mean, we rarely hear stories about contactees talking about aliens and their pet animals. You know, I remember Alex Collier told a woman in one of his presentations about the animals that the Andromedans have, and he said he did not recognize any of the animals they had, that they didn't look like anything we had on Earth, except for one animal looked like a squirrel that they have. He said that's the closest thing that compares to the animals that we had that they had that resembled anything on Earth. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was interesting also that Shurlene would bring that up because that's rarely ever touched upon, you know. So I thought that was pretty cool. She also said that she's either a nearsighted or a farsighted person as far as it goes with her eyesight. And she said she thought it was really cool how in light body form she has no problems at all. She said you have no medical problems, no eyesight problems. She said she can't comprehend how or why, but she can see, I guess, 360, she has a 360 degree angled panoramic type of view. So she said she can see everything and she can see everywhere. And it's hard to comprehend how the sight kind of works. It's really weird. You can see everything. And she thought that was really cool. And she said that she weighed probably almost nothing. You know, I mean, she said she was so lightweight that you can't even comprehend the number for how light she was. So I thought that was cool also. Here's another thing that came up that I wrote down that I thought this was very interesting. She went to a planet again. They had a lot of black people on this planet, and she was talking to, it might have been Mars, but she was talking to a black nurse, and she was talking about the concept of marriage. And I think the reason why she brought that up because she had, you know, made comments throughout the book several times that she had just got out of a bad relationship. She had a bad divorce, that she had got divorced and the relationship had fallen apart. But what was interesting was she brought that up to the extraterrestrial woman, and she told her, we don't have that custom on our world. We do not have the marriage custom. So she said we have mates. We're mated. But she didn't go into further detail about what that meant or, you know, why they didn't have the marriage custom. So that was cool. And the other thing that I want to bring up, last but definitely not least, is that she found out, she seen with her own eyes and was told that there are many advanced black spacefaring races, you know, throughout the cosmos. And that was very uplifting, especially considering how black Earth humans have been treated like shit for centuries. That was a delight to hear, you know, if anything at all. I mean, if they, you know, which I'm going to get into something else in a minute on that same topic. But I thought that was really cool to hear. And the two other contactees that gives validity to her claims is Australian contactee Mikhail Desmarket and Billy Meyer. Billy Meyer said the same thing. There were many black spacefaring races, and I guess he made this comment in response to someone asking him about America's race problems towards the black race. So, you know, that's Shurlene Wallace, contactee Shurlene Wallace, contactee Mikhail Desmarket, and contactee Billy Meyer all saying the same thing, that there are many very advanced black spacefaring races. So that was a beautiful thing. Now, speaking on that, on a side note, I want to switch it up to the book. In my closing notes, the disappointing and disheartening things about the book was none of the black races told her anything about the history of planet Earth. You know, you have contactees like Billy Meyer, Mikhail Desmarket, Alex Collier, Simon Parks. You've had Jim Sparks speak on this, you know, and several others. But she was not told anything. And it was very, very sad to hear that, especially with the state of our people, you know, the black race, specifically in America, how we've been treated, how we've been handled, and this, you know, the cards we've been dealt, and it's really sad that they didn't touch on any of that. I just, you know, I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm not mad at Shurlene Wallace. You know, the information she put out is all the information she could get. You know, and then she witnessed some of this stuff too. You know, but she was told, you know, very, very little. And I hope in the future, if she writes a second book, which I'll buy, I hope that, you know, that she learned more information about, you know, why is our race in shit shambles? You know, why have people been treated like this? Who's behind it? You know, because I've always wondered, you know, was an extraterrestrial race actually responsible for the sabotage of the black race? I always wondered that, you know, and nobody would touch on that subject matter. Nobody, you know. The only person that did kind of touch on it was Simon Parks. Simon Parks said that the reptilians, the Alpha Draconis reptilians, supposed to be white-skinned, lizard ETs, and that they have this infatuation with ceremony and worship, and that they worship the color white, and that's the reason why they dealt with the white race and left the black race alone. You know, he said they only dealt with like the Zulu tribe and a few other tribes in Africa, but for the most part, they didn't give a damn about the black race. The black race was never their priority, and they were only going to deal with the white race. And he claims that where racism originated from was from the reptilians. I personally believe it came from a few other groups, and 2 or 3 times he was asked this. Bill Ryan with Project Avalon, who I think is a far better human being than a bitch like Carrie Cassidy. He asked him that question in the interview, 2 interviews he did with him, and he mentioned the black race and the reptilians. And there's a British guy in a black suit that interviewed him. It's like maybe about a 45-minute interview, and he brought up the same question about, what's up with the black race? You know, I guess he was asking about the abductions and why is it that, they don't mess with the black race, and he brought that up. Oh, also, I forgot who did the interview, but someone did an interview with him where somebody asked him a question about David Icke and Credo Mutwa, and he gave Credo Mutwa a lot of props. He said, Credo Mutwa is probably one of the more interesting contactees in ufology because the reptilians do not deal with the black race at all. And for whatever reason, they picked Credo Mutwa, they dealt with him. Yeah, Credo Mutwa knew all of their history, you know, and that he was definitely for real and legit, you know, with the stuff that he was saying. You know, gave him props, said he was a very elegant man and knew what the hell he was talking about. But that's my biggest gripe with the book. And again, it's no disrespect or no offense against Shurlene Wallace. It's just the black extraterrestrial groups, all of them, because it was more than one, and it was more than one planet she went to, they all should have just sat down and told her something. You know, we're re-engineering the genetic structure. Okay, why are you doing that? Why did you impregnate Shurlene Wallace and just, you know, left her fucking clueless? You know, that just wasn't right. And then how she would go around certain ETs, and if she recognized them, they didn't want to tell her shit. You know, I'm like, you know, that was frustrating. You know, when I read the book, I was really excited. I was thinking that, damn, okay, finally, we got a black contactee that wrote a book, and they're getting ready to tell the history of why our race has been treated like shit. And we didn't get that. You know, we really didn't. And the closest book that I'm aware of is The Over Prophecy, but that book does not tell the story of what happened to us either. Mikhail Desmarket said that after the asteroid wiped out the Backrotinians, that was pretty much it. You know, what was left of their race de-evolved into the black Australians have the genetics of the Backrotinians. And he said all of the Chinese are related to them. He didn't say the other Asian cultures, but he specifically said the Chinese are all related to the Backrotinians. And so is the blacks that are from Australia, and I think some that are in certain parts of Africa, maybe Chad, Niger, I forgot the other, Mesopotamia, no, some other place. But that was the biggest thing, my biggest gripe with the book, is they could have said a whole lot more. You know, they left this one with a bunch of mysteries, and that is just fucking cruel. You know, I pray to God something like that never happens to me, because that would drive me crazy for the rest of my life, knowing that I had the rarest opportunity in the world to go off planet, see another civilization, and then be told nothing about it. And I'm like, what a bunch of bullshit. So, I rate the book 4 stars. It could have been, I would give it 5 stars, but again, a 4-star read. She just wasn't told nothing about the history of the black race, which I think sucked. Another thing I was really surprised to learn in the book is that she was told nothing about the reptilians. Nothing about the reptilians, nothing about the Anunnaki. She mentioned nothing about the Nephilim. Other than those 3 grays that came to her room and put an implant in her elbow, she didn't say anything about these other groups. So I thought that was very, very interesting. But again, I'd say the highlights of the book, you know, was her learning that there were many spacefaring civilizations throughout the cosmos. She didn't say how many, but she said there was a whole lot. She was told that, you know, that they were re-engineering our genetic structure, and that was a positive thing. I really respect the fact that these ETs removed the ovarian cyst from her body. That was brilliant. That was very cool for them to do that. I also love the fact that she said that she would never be harassed or bothered by the FBI or the CIA. Hey, that's a good thing. We all need that. You know, especially if you're in that field, you know. She was told that the black race built the pyramids in Egypt and that they were from Mars. Oh, there was another thing that I didn't mention that I thought was just, this is another tidbit. She said her twin sister, Erlene Carr, who was also abducted by them, but not to the degree and as many times as she was, but she said she had went to a 7-Eleven store somewhere in Texas, and an Ethiopian woman was working there, and she had brought up, they started talking about UFOs and aliens. They brought up the subject matter, and that the woman from Ethiopia said that in their textbooks, they are taught that the black race came from Mars, and that's where the connection is. She also said that that the ancient Egyptians was black, and that pretty much all the white scholars and Arab scholars that said that they were white or Arab are full of shit. You know, and I love that she, that she said that. She said that in a radio interview she did that that an Arab archaeologist found evidence and proof that that other than the stuff we've seen, other than the physical stuff we've seen, they found some really serious hardcore proof. And like black statues that are completely negroid in appearance that they don't want to release to the public because they don't want to give props and validity that blacks actually built this. Or had a lot to do with the Egyptian culture. With its early beginnings, they want to suppress that like they suppress everything else about African culture and black people's history, which has always pissed me the fuck off. I think it's ridiculous, that you got all these paintings. There's only one group of people on the planet who has nappy braided hair, and that's us, and they still want to fucking deny that stuff. And it's just, you gotta be retarded not to see those people were black. They were black. They weren't anything else. And I'm glad that she spoke up and threw that out there. Because it needs to be thrown out there a lot more. Because I've heard other contactees talk about Egypt, and they totally don't even go into that direction, saying, well, blacks were in Egypt, and they always say the Egyptians, they use words to try to throw people off, so they don't have to get down to the nitty gritty and admit who really had something to do with Egypt, And it's the same non-black contactees that do that all the time. But anyway, 4-star book, recommended to everyone. I hope she writes another book in the future sometime. This book came out in the late 90s, and it was a good book, and I really respected her personal message to everyone in the book. I thought that was very heartfelt, and taking nothing away from Shurlene Wallace again. I believe every word that she has to say. It's very rare that a black contactee comes forward and says anything at all. But like I said, my biggest gripe is that the black ETs that she met just didn't have anything to say at all, and I just thought that was totally wrong. They said very little. I wish they would have just, gave us, a history lesson on what happened to the black race to where, thousands of years ago to where in present day we got all these problems. Well, anyway, this is me signing off. It was a pretty good book, 4 stars. I recommend it to anyone that's interested or involved in the field of ufology.